you can only see her eyes right now, they're rolling them so hard. Good morning from the beautiful coast of Maine. We are here. We had some free time this morning on our way to Acadia National Park, and I decided to do the coffee video. So I'll show you the couple different methods that I use to make good coffee in the van. It's a little bit different than when I made it at home, but let's kind of give you an idea of how we make good coffee in the van. So first thing is where we store all of our coffee stuff. So in the van, everything has to have its own place. So every cup has its own drawer, every piece of coffee stuff. So Christina calls this my coffee and liquor cabinet. This isn't all my liquor, but this is some of the stuff that I have. This is the tote that we use for all of our coffee stuff. It just kind of holds a bunch of different stuff in there, which is really, really nice. This silicone mat is a dog and cat food dish from Amazon. Our friend Miranda recommended it because we were having a hard time keeping everything clean and in one location. This thing is amazing. It's got a little lip on the edge of it. It works out really well for keeping all your spills contained in this. Coffee, nice sealed airtight containers, work out really, really well. So this is what I use for most of my everyday coffee. My favorite is French press, but to do a French press, to clean out that filter, it takes a lot, and that's a lot of water that gets wasted every day. So when we started looking at this van life stuff, coffee is important to me. So I really tried finding a way that I can save water for one, and then for two, make a really good cup of coffee. I like the real oily, thicker, chocolatey coffee. So buddy Devin recommended this to me. It's called Clever Dripper, and it essentially is a pour over style to where you put a number 4 filter in, put your medium to coarse grounds in there, and then when you put your water in, you will be waiting for about 4 minutes for it to steep, and then there's a valve on the bottom. It's kind of hard to tell here, but when you put it onto a cup, it will release the coffee as it goes through. So it's a good mix between a pour over and a French press. So for the Clever Dripper, black coffee, things you'll need, Clever Dripper. You could just do a pour over as well. Any of the pour over containers as well, those work just fine. I'll show you how this differs and how you can actually use this as a pour over as well. So Clever Dripper, a temperature probe for your water. Unless you have a kettle that's going to have a temperature probe in it, number 4 filter, and a water kettle. So for this one here, we have it's collapsible, so it collapses down and then it can pop back up. This works good for saving space in the van. So we've used it every day for the last 6.5 months and it's worked great. Fresh ground coffee is absolutely the key. So get yourself a burr grinder. I think this thing's like 25 bucks on Amazon. I'll put a link to it. And again, same with this thing here. We've been using this thing for 6.5 months and it's worked out great. Burr grinder is the way to go. Coarse ground, or the blade grinders, if that's all you've got, that'll work fine, but burr grinder is definitely the preferred method. Coffee goes on top. As you grind, it comes out the bottom, and it's got a little, so you can see that, and it's got an adjustment on it too, so you can adjust your grounds. So as I go through the different steps, I adjust the grounds to change according to what I'm brewing. It shows your tablespoons here as you go up. And then of course, you're gonna need some good old-fashioned coffee. As a general rule of thumb, a good ratio for coffee is 1 to 15, up to about 1 to 17. What that means is 1 gram of coffee, you want 15 grams of water. So for me, an easier way to look at it is on here, there's tablespoon marks. For 5 tablespoons of coffee, you want 1.75 cups of water. So that's very easy because that's what my travel mug is. And this, I go a little bit less for my personal taste. I do about 4, maybe heaping 4 tablespoons. And then I have a mark on my water container already for what I need. So just every morning, filtered water. You're gonna get better taste with filtered water. Fill up to the line, and then do my 4 heaping tablespoons of coffee. and that gives me a pretty good ratio to that 1:15. We have the 110 outlet in the van, so I can run electric kettle off of my plug. So I just turn the inverter on, just plug it in. So for the temperature wise, normally what I would do is I would start this boiling and let it go. And easy way to do it, you can get it to boiling, turn it off, and then let it cool down for a minute or two. You're looking for a temperature of around 195 to 205 is what you're looking for. So you can sit here with a little temperature probe. Some of the nicer ones have them built in, so it'll turn off at the key temperature you want. So you can check that, but I'll let this go and I'll start grinding my coffee. But this is just a hand grinder, and it just takes a couple minutes to grind your coffee. So there's little lines that'll indicate how full you are. So we are good to go. So now we have our 4 heaping tablespoons of coffee. You can see nice, I like a medium to coarse ground. My temperature of the water is perfect right now. We're sitting at 195. So technique on this, just like a pour over. So as you're pouring your coffee in, your water in, I'm just trying to get all the coffee mixed up. I do about 30 to 40% of the water, and then you let it bloom. So this is supposed to release some of the gases from the coffee. They say 30 seconds. I never go that long. I'm too impatient for my coffee. So I let it go for, I don't know, 15 seconds or so. And then you can kind of see it breaking that top layer of coffee again. And now we wait. I generally do 3 to 4 minutes on it. They say on their website for this one about 4 minutes, but 3 to 4, generally pretty good.
I got 3 minutes now. Looking out the window, watching it bloom.
Timer went off. Now that those 3 minutes are over, done waiting. It's always the hardest part. This, holding all of the coffee in there right now. So there's a valve on the bottom that is not releasing any of the coffee right now. So you can see from the top side how it's starting to drain. It just takes a minute or so to drain through. Looking at the grind's probably a little too coarse for this. I think when I was adjusting it earlier, I think I messed with it, but for the demonstration video, it doesn't matter. But I would do it a little bit finer than that. And that's your cup of coffee. And that just pulled off. And now you have a delicious cup of coffee. So one of the reasons why we went with this versus a French press. French press, you have to take it all apart. You have to clean all the filters. You have to clean the glass part of it. You have to clean the plunger. All that takes a lot of wasted water. And with our water catchment system going into a container, that's just a lot of nasty stuff we didn't want going straight into our gray water. So for this, it's very easy. All I have to do is just pull the filter out and it just goes right into the trash. And then that's all you got. It's just that easy. And then this I'll just rinse out and we'll be good to go. The next method we're gonna do is the AeroPress. We use this makes an amazing cup of coffee as well. It takes a little bit more time than the Clever Dripper, so most of the time I'm just doing the Clever Dripper. But this makes an amazing espresso type shot. So what I've been doing is doing this with milk and actually making lattes. I'll show you how we do that. for this step of the latte, I'm doing, right now we normally do like a lactate or oat milk, but all we have right now is just almond milk. Doesn't froth up the best, but we'll do what we can. And then I'm doing about 1/3 of the cup in here, and that will go into our induction cooktop because I'm just going to heat that up slowly. Step 1 for the AeroPress would be my coffee grounds. So my burr grinder has an adjustment on it, so I can adjust how fine or coarse. I want these to be a finer ground, almost to an espresso grind. So first step would be to adjust that. So that's done. Oh, it smells so good. 2 methods to loading the AeroPress. AeroPress's original design is for filter, which I always rinse my filters. AeroPress's original design was for the filter to go in the bottom plate. Attached to the bottom here is just a simple twist, and then rest on your coffee cup, and then add coffee grounds to the AeroPress here, and then add your boiling water, or your water that's up to temperature here, and it will slowly let some stuff drip in. At the appropriate time, you would then plunge. Now I'll show you the way that I do it. I like the longer steep time, so we do the inverted method. So plunger goes in, it goes to the appropriate number, so I want 4. So I have it go to here, and then once my water's up to temperature, my milk's up to temperature, I'm just heating up milk just to get it up to, I don't even know what the temperature is, but it's not boiling, it's not even steaming barely. I just want it warm so I can froth it. Then use their AeroPress scoop, and this is 2.5 tablespoons for a scoop is what the equivalent is for their scoop. I might do a little extra. So now it's holding the coffee in there and it's ready to go. So I can add my water to this and it will hold. So this inverted method means I can let it sit there for longer. You don't have to do AeroPress very long. About 1 minute steep time for this. It's very quick steep time. There we go. At this point, what I'd be doing if I wanted just a normal cup of coffee from the AeroPress, which does make very good coffee, is I'd pour about half the water in here that's necessary, stir it up with the little stirry thing that they give you, let it bloom. They say 30 seconds. I only go for 10-15 seconds. And then pour up the rest all the way to the top. Once it's at the top, then the filter is going to go on, and then you will let it sit for 1 minute. My water's up to temperature. Some of the prize-winning AeroPress cups of coffee, which there is a competition for that, surprisingly, they were lower temperatures. They were like 174, 175. I still shoot around the 190 sometimes. So just pour about half of the water in, and then I stir it, and then let it bloom, just like you would with a Clever Dripper. I guess that bloom again is something to do with the gases coming off the coffee. They say 30 seconds. I never let it go for 30 seconds. I don't know why. Too impatient. And then I pour the rest of the water in. Once you get all the coffee into here, then the filter's already in here, rinsed to kind of get rid of some of the paper flavor, and then it just locks on, and it just sits there for 1 minute. I've already heated the milk, heated up in here, just so we're steaming. We're doing almond milk this time. While the coffee's brewing, I've already heated up the milk. I'm gonna put it in the cup. We're gonna add our vanilla flavoring that Christina really likes. 2 spoonfuls. And then we got one of these like Aero Latte stirring things off Amazon. They're like $10. And I'm just gonna froth up the milk. So it gives a pretty good foam on the milk. That's even almond milk. Oat milk and normal milk really does actually a much better job. Once that's done, this has been steeping for a minute, then it just flips over onto the cup, and then you just press the plunger down. You'll start to hear it. Towards the bottom. So as soon as you hear that, I'd stop then. So now, as you can see, we're dripping everywhere, making a mess. So this little mat has done wonders. And then I just go back through and mix it up and re-froth it. And you got yourself a latte. If I wanted just a normal cup of coffee, then I would have just skipped the milk portion of it all. Then I would have just put the coffee in, did the stir, let it bloom, add the more water, set for a minute, flip over onto the cup. Some people add water to the Aero Latte after it's done because it's kind of a more stronger cup of coffee. It's been making really good cups of coffee with that ratio that I've been doing. Just one of these scoops with the good fine grind and then the water up to the 4. The thing that I do like about the Aero Latte is the cleanup. It is very easy to clean up. This one's a little messy. Normally I don't get the foam onto there. Normally it's a little bit more clean than that, but this top pops off, and that's the filter with all the coffee. So all you do is just push the plunger. You can see the coffee just falling right out, and then you pretty much just wipe it down with a paper towel and you're good to go. And then once I'm done, I will rinse the whole thing off. That's all it takes. That's pretty much all the cleanup for it. And then just a little bit of water to rinse it all off. And that's the Aero Latte. Thanks for watching the coffee video. Now go enjoy your cup of coffee.